thank you, Prof, for the very insightful presentation. I'm surprised that even South Africa doesn't have a property index. So when I thought maybe they've developed real estate industry. So in Zimbabwe, don't you think that the deeds office records can be a starting point?
Yeah.
I think the deeds office records, they show the transfers that would have happened in the market, but their report is so crude, so I think it needs refinement, where it can then include things like the proper descriptions, maybe the SEBAP, and as well maybe the three organs, the Real Estate Institute, the Valuers Council, need to maybe collaborate with the deeds office. Unfortunately, we don't have people from the deeds office. We do. So if they are here, thank you. I think if those parties collaborate, that could be a very good starting point. That's my observation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Keche, we have someone from the Deeds Register Office. We are most indebted to his presence here. Anyone with a burning issue to the professor?
No, don't force them. There is nothing.
Yeah, so maybe you may need to respond to that. Is Mr. Keche from CBZ Properties? Yes, Prof.
Sorry.
May you respond to that?
Oh, you mean the fact that the office can be the starting point?
What's your response to?
Yeah, it's any institution that houses property price information, which is credible, because the issue is credibility. So if the deeds office, I hope that people really give the true prices of the transactions to the deeds office. So that's also need to be considered and interrogated. But this one we can't. I think it's a good starting point. You have mentioned one potential source of information that may be used. So let's see the institution responsible interrogate that and look around if there is any other way of making sure that we convince people through a certain institution to channel their proper price information for the sake of coming up with a proper price index for the country.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, our next session is a plenary session with all our presenters. This is now the chance to fire away to the presenters. We have the chance to have some eats. So I think we have also the chance to be interrogating some of their presentations. Let's seize the opportunity to get clarifications. Ourselves also giving or proffering some recommendations. I think it would be prudent that after such a seminar, particularly that we have been looking at the wealthy tax, the outcome of this seminar should at least be giving some feedback, recommendations to our beloved Ministry of Finance to say if they are to proceed with this wealthy tax, how best can they coach it so that it can be implemented with the minimum hassles. So to start the ball rolling, I reckon we have the registrar of the Estate Agents Council. Is that Mr. Chitindi? Your hand is up. May you give him the mic?
Yes, it's me, but I guess it's on the previous, the recent discussion that we were having, and someone had suggested that the deeds office could be the starting point, which, yes, I agree with, but my experience with entities which were born out of statute is that they are limited in terms of scope of what they can do and what they cannot do. So the deeds office alone, I think, may not be able to have this a property index running. I think it would need a partnership with the private sector or the private participants. I'm saying this from a point of view that at some point, as the Estate Agents Council, we tried to introduce a bad tenants database or something of that sort. But then we hit a legal hindrance where we were told that as a creature of statute, we can only stick to what is defined in the statute. So maybe as stakeholders, we may need to put our heads together and see how best that can be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chidinti. I think Dr. Kwangwama, I think someone is taking notes, some of these recommendations to say it's important and that we have the issue of that proper database, and we are hearing the comments, the suggestions that we cannot leave it to one entity, but it should be a collaboration. Thank you, Mr. Chidinti. Mr. Ndere?
Sorry, mine is a question. Am I allowed to ask a question? It's fairly to the professor. It just crossed my mind just now. Look, from your presentation, Prof, it looks like we have so many missing links when it comes to implementation of this wealth tax. So in your view, when would you think we may be ready for this? Because it looks like we're not ready for it, for implementation of this wealth tax. When do you think we may be ready for this one? Thank you.
The Prof, you may take it, that one down, or you want to?
Yes. That is a very subjective question, and we'll get a subjective answer, not an objective one. But I think I have already shared what I think privately with the Zemura people, so I don't want to share it publicly. But I think if I put it politely, there is a bit of, I think, consultation, stakeholder engagement, which is required in the UK. Sorry to bother you. Even the Prime Minister of Britain would not dare to declare a property tax without the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, without making all hell broke. So I think they are doing a good thing because they have already alluded to the fact that they are consulting. I think they are doing it. There was a good friend of mine at tea break who said they already have a policy in place. Now they are going back to consultations. So I'm sure they've realized that, and somehow from what they presented, they are alive to that, to the concerns and everything. But there's still quite a bit of work to be done for that to really be implementable. In this country, CB Richard, Old Mutual, who is Knight Frank, I think they used to have some kind of index, which was, I'm just thinking loudly in terms of starting points. And I think their index was following the same, I think, idea in the UK, where the leading professional realtors, who were, I think at some point among them, were almost doing the bulk of the work. Maybe it's something else, it's something also to think about. If they trust each other, they are all the big boys, maybe they can revisit that, but I just thought I should share that there used to be some kind of property index by those three. I think things fell apart during 2008 and during that time. But maybe it's worth revisiting and considering.
Okay, thank you. As we are looking at these issues, my brother Francis Nyambiri, you alluded to your what you termed asset rich but cash poor. With this wealthy taxing, what do you recommend? I think our acting chief valuer, he mentioned that the current rating valuation processes, you are looking at the rating units to say whether a property is developed or is just a virgin piece of land. But at the end of the day, it needs to be taxed based on that rating valuation. But however, if a property is not developed, definitely it could be a challenge to get an income from that property. But you are still compelled to pay the relevant tax. In this case, we are talking of the rates, but also looking at the proposed wealth tax. How best can this be coached? What do you recommend to our beloved ministry?
Yeah. I think the only way around it is to allow people to roll over the tax or to defer the tax until such time that they've disposed of the property. Because most of the people are asset rich, you're right, but they are cash poor. They don't have the revenue, the cash flows to pay taxes. So they may have to accept that there will be instances where people have to roll over the tax to an extent until such time that they dispose the property. There should be that alternative.
Our acting chief valuer, I think you will be an important stakeholder in advising our ministry. Asset rich, but cash poor.
Okay, thank you. As a local authority, I think we need time, maybe, if we are to be given the assignment to carry out the evaluation. Because as we are, as council, even when the GVR was done, we had to outsource it. So as the city, we don't have the capacity to do those valuations, unless if they are to be outsourced.
Our tax collector, I can see you want to react. Fungiso.
As taxmen, we are biased. We want to collect, so we cannot roll over to infinity. Because our mandate is to collect for the fiscus. So at which point would we then collect for the fiscus? And if no disposal is done? If disposal is not done?
So our tax, I think your proposed wealth tax is littered with a number of controversies that I think this floor would at least proffer some recommendations. Ladies and gentlemen, you are the technocrats. Let's guide our ministry. Whatever we are going to recommend here, our secretariat and respective boards, should they be consulted, obviously they will use part of our contributions today to say, I think the learned minister stand guided on this. I think if you can take this trajectory, you can at least achieve what you are trying to collect some revenue for the country. Any reactions? Any recommendations? Yes, Mr. Mshanguli.
Thank you, Master, or is it Director of Ceremonies? I want to maybe point out something that I think is a point of interest at this point regarding the wealth tax. If you look at the figure of 250,000, multiply that by 10%, I'm sure as valuers we know what that means. Divide that by 12. Does anybody have a calculator? Quickly do that. Okay, somebody has come up with a number. It's 208. Okay. So, $208 is what the landlord is going to add on a monthly basis in order to recover from that wealth tax. That property is probably worth about what? Let's say 1,000. In my mind, I'm seeing somebody increasing the rental. Without getting too deep into the dynamics, I'm now thinking, has this really been thought out to see what effect it will have out there? What if there's a sudden disposal of property? I'm not saying that people will do that. People normally hold on to property. Then you're going to have a slump in prices. How do you correct the wealth tax during the year when there's a slump in prices? Is the tax collector going to be amenable to the fact that the market has changed? So, as we sit here, so many issues need to be interrogated and addressed. Right now, we're just thinking, okay, that's the cash, the cash wagon, so to speak. But we have not really thought about what are the overarching effects of this policy. Is it really going to be what is expected in terms of the final outcomes? So it's something that I'm giving to Zimra to think about. I know it's not really a policy issue, but it is a peripheral issue that needs to be considered. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother Mkangule. Ladies and gentlemen, I think, okay, the last one now from Mr. Ndere, because I was going to propose that we go to the next presentation.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony. I just want to make a comment and pose a question to the panelists. Maybe this comment is directed to Zimra to say, as Zimbabweans who are in this room, we have not gone to the diaspora. We are patriotic, and we are here to build this nation together for the coming generations. So I think get us right there. We are not saying what you're trying to do is wrong. No, it's okay. We are happy to build together. So what we're trying to do is to find a solution to a problem, right? So my question now is, we have countries like your UAE, your Saudi Arabia, and other the Arab states, where their citizens are not taxed. How are the governments funding the fiscus? Because I think it's something that the government may need to look at to say, okay, fine, I'm overtaxing my people here. What other avenues are available for me to kind of get money to fund the fiscus? Maybe the professor who is well researched may actually assist us on that.
Thank you, Mr. Ndere. Anenzevedzwe kunzwa nganzwe zvinoreva mweya kukereke. Tinotenda chose. That was Lawrence. I think Yeah, you just fire away because we were about to move to the next thing.
Thank you, sir. No, it was actually trying to perhaps, it's a comment on top of another comment. The comment which Mr. Ndere just made. My thinking was that the government also wants this economy to grow. And we want to encourage property investment in our country. Because, I mean, let's look at it. We have not had, property developers in the market perhaps coming up with 500 units, 1,000 units over the past 20 to 30 years. Properties that have properly been developed and are of that magnitude. And I know that the thrust is to grow the economy. My thinking would have been that instead of, because once you start taxing, properties using this wealth tax, it means that it's going to become a very expensive and it's going to discourage investment in real estate. And even it's going to discourage, the economy is not going to grow from an asset base at the extent to which we want to grow. So perhaps it's worth thinking about, is it the right time for us to implement this wealth tax? That's my comment.